All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
Welcome back to another episode of Reignite Resilience. I am your co-host, Natalie Davis, and I am joined with none other than Pam Cass. Pam, how are you today?
I am fantastic. We were just talking about weekends away and the snow that we get this time of year in Colorado that we wish would maybe not happen, but we're embracing it. It's making everything green and gorgeous down here. So, yeah.
Listen, I think a good rule of thumb, anyone that doesn't live in Colorado, if you're curious, whenever you're listening to this episode, it probably has snowed at some point in time this week.
Yeah,
so whatever month of the year, it does not matter.
And the funny thing is Natalie and I live here, and yet we would rather be in warm climates by the beach.
I am looking for somewhere tropical, an ocean that doesn't have snow. It's not a lot to ask.
No, I don't think so at all. So I'm done with the resilience of living through the cold weather.
Living through the elements. Exactly. It's so funny because you are prepared for it, right? I mean, I go back and I look at pictures and there's like snow in May, there's snow in June. I've had a 4th of July where I was watching fireworks and it started to snow in July. It just happens. But when it happens, I still have like this trigger response of why is this happening?
What is this? What is this? Yeah. Yeah, I'm right with you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So any time of year, it's probably snowing. So don't worry. This is just what happens here in Colorado.
Yes.
Anyways, we have a lovely guest joining us today, and I'm so excited to dive in. Well, I'll just turn it over to you, Pam. Why don't you tell our listeners who's joining us today?
Yeah, I am so excited for this one. So we have G. Michael Hopf. He is a U.S. Today bestselling author, renowned for his post-apocalyptics and Western novels. He has penned over 40 books, including the internationally acclaimed The New World series, which has sold more than 1 million copies worldwide and been translated into multiple languages. A Marine Corps combat veteran, Hopf's diverse background also includes roles as a bodyguard and commercial diver are infused into his writing. He resides in San Diego. Welcome, Jeff. It is so great to have you with us today and excited to get to know your story a little bit. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Share, tell the listeners a little bit more about you and your story.
Well, first, let me thank you, Pam, for having me, and Natalie as well. Thank you. I was listening to you guys talk about the snow. I don't have that problem here in San Diego.
One of my most favorite parts of the country, but that's okay. Continue.
It's amazing down here. But I had that experience when I lived in Idaho. I opened the curtains. This was years ago, not that long ago, actually. When was it, 10, 15 years ago? And it was June 11th, and there was like 6 inches of snow on the ground. My wife go, I'm done. That was after 7 years of living in Idaho. She goes, I'm done. I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, we're out.
You can't argue.
Idaho's beautiful, though. The mountains are gorgeous.
They are.
Yeah. So whereabouts in Colorado are you?
Northern Colorado.
Northern Colorado on the Front Range. Yep.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So there's snow there. It can snow there any time of the year then.
Any time of the year. And we could have a day where you wake up and it's 75 and then it snows and then it's 80 in the afternoon. It's just like, it doesn't know what it wants to do. And we just.
Yeah, the weather's dyslexic. That's what I used to say.
100%.
It doesn't know what it wants to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So about me, I grew up great family back east on a farm, and it wasn't a working farm, and but I kind of wanted to have a lot of experiences in my life, so that's what prompted me to join the Marine Corps. I had really good grades. I was supposed to go to George Mason University, and I was like, I just really want to see the world, and I did that. I joined infantry, and I did 6 years, and again, I just wanted the experience of it all. I felt like I wanted to be part of an expeditionary force and travel the world and have these incredible experiences, which I did. My time in the military was very eventful. I did three deployments and saw a lot of things, but overall, I will say my military experience was great. Not that there weren't moments of intensity and suffering and a very uncomfortable experience sometimes, but I've just trained myself to just reframe things and look at everything as opportunities for growth. And so I just have looked at my time in as just a really great experience, specifically for a young person to go through. And then it really framed my perspective. I got to meet a lot of incredible people. And that's what's beautiful about the military. You get people from all walks of life, doesn't matter, black, white, doesn't matter, wherever you get put in. And then you have one kind of common purpose together that transcends you as an individual. And I think that's what's really neat. We have our own unique reasons for joining, but then it gives us a common purpose to strive for. And I like that. And then, so from there, I got out, wanted to pursue more adventure, commercial diving for a couple of years, bodyguard for over 10 years. And then I decided to stop using my body and become more cerebral and I decided to write. And then my writing career really has been blessed. I've been blessed with a lot of success. And that's led me to just not for my own individual writing to then going into helping other writers achieve their dreams, creating publishing companies and so forth. So today I'm sitting here, 40 novels in myself as an individual, and then also have penned and helped pen, I'm looking on the board over here, 466 other books for other people. So I love to see people achieve their dreams. It's very important for me. I've had a lot of help along the way. And so I can do that. I do.
That's incredible. So you said that you learned how to kind of reframe adversity when you saw it. So how did you do that? I mean, it's just one day you're like, oh, I'm just going to rework.
No, it just doesn't happen. I mean, it takes the idea to come in your head. Like,
Yeah.
I can choose to, well, there's been interesting experiences in my life that it wasn't until like the light bulb I went off in my head as like a man. I don't think men grow up until like late 20s, by the way.
I think that's scientifically proven. So.
That is scientifically proven.
I think 26.
Yes.
Not that we're
Mine
counting.
was 28. Like I remember, like I'm sitting in a bar in Kansas City. I feel like someone creeped in and like turned the light on. I was like, oh my God, that's what that looks like. I just was like able to like see things from a different perspective. I don't know if the frontal cortex finally got formed. But I've been able to like kind of understand and see things a certain way, but then I wouldn't just like work on it. I think working on the mind is like, it's like anything else. You have to have practice that. It's like working on the body. Yeah. And you have to exercise it just like you exercise your spirit. If you're spiritual or you're religious, you work on the spirit by going to church and prayer and things like that. And then the body, going to the gym, exercising, moving the body. And then there comes like working on the mind. And I do a lot of that through meditation, but it's also very conscious awareness and intentional thinking. Not just allowing my emotional state to kind of drive me in a direction, but just like, okay, is that really what I want to do? And so, because a traumatic like event can really, I mean, clearly it causes emotional trauma, and then you get to do with it what you want. And so I was like, okay, so I have goals in my life. And so whenever I've experienced something that's very painful, I just have chosen, again, it didn't happen overnight. It's through conscious and intentional thinking and practicing it so that I have a mindset that when something happens, I pause and then acknowledge my ownership of why I might be there or why I might be experiencing it. And then I've changed my thought that this is now an opportunity. Mm-hmm. An opportunity's been presented to me. And I get to do with that. It's kind of like a door closes and people a lot of time look at the closed door, but don't realize that when that door closes, multiple doors around them have opened. Yeah. And if you only focus on the closed door, you can't see anything else. Mm-hmm. And so when I've been faced with something that's very painful, I kind of allow myself to feel it for a period of time, like just like feel that emotional state. But then I know that I have other responsibilities in life. I can't live in that emotional state, and that I have to achieve. I have responsibilities to other people. I've got a family, I got two beautiful girls, a wonderful wife, and that I need to I need to snap out of that. And so that I then reframe it. Okay, what can I now learn from this? What can I garner from this to add value to my life? And I know that's a long way of saying it, but it just takes practice to start looking at the world that way.
Mm.
I reframe things. I might overuse that word a lot in our conversation, but I do. If I don't like it, I try to reframe it in a certain way. It's like, what can I glean from this that adds value to my life?
Did any of your training in the Marines and as a bodyguard and even as a commercial diver play a role in that?
Mm-mm. No, it was later on in life that I started really uh, exploring the mind, how it works. There was a couple experiences I had that I've always found fascinating. I remember one time when I was a bodyguard, I worked for this family. It was one of the jobs I had. It was in like very comprehensive detail. We had 37 agents working to protect one family down in Florida, down in South Florida. And one day a bunch of us got fired. And I remember that this has been a very poignant moment in my life because it was like one singular event, like a bunch of us got fired all at one time. And it was like instantly. It wasn't like you got 2 weeks, you got a month, here's severance. It's like you're gone, don't come back. And it was just a family just decided for whatever they wanted to go in a different direction with their protection detail. But I was living with a couple guys that were all on the detail, and his name is Scott came out and he was crying, like crying. And we're like, what is going on? He's like, we've been fired. And then the other guy Kevin was there, had this very angry response and like threw a beer bottle, was acting all hyper about it. And I was laughing. And I remember like thinking like, wow, there's one event, three different like emotional responses to that. I was like, what causes that? Like you can peel back the onions, like explore. It's like, why did Scott act like that? He was like really, really shaken and upset. Kevin was acting angry about it. And I was like, okay. Because neither one of those experiences were helping these guys. Like Kevin went off the deep end and started drinking a lot. And it's like, and then Scott was just like, I'm a victim of this. And I just sat back and like, everything will be okay. It'll be fine. And everything ended up being fine. So I was like, okay, so how did my thinking shape my reality? Did it allow me to see things that wasn't clouded by enraged emotion or sadness? It was able to see the world for what it is. So those are some things that later on I started really taking a deep thought on and observation. And then I think I was in my late 30s, I really started exploring teachers like Tony Robbins and people adjacent to him and really tried to understand the mind and how it works because I know it's very powerful. And that's what really got me down into understanding, reframing my experiences.
Wow.
Huge. Well, Jeff,
and by the way, also reframing my past instead of looking at my time in the Marine Corps and complaining about things I experienced. I've now just reframed it as those were learning opportunities, and everything like that. I've just adopted that thought pattern.
Well, Jeff, I'd love to go into that space. First, thank you for your service. And it sounds like before enrolling that you were a pretty good student. You were heading off to you could go off to college. But the one thing that you mentioned is that you had this desire to see the world and travel and explore. And I mean, there's a variety of avenues that you could take to get there. And you've been able to successfully do so. But looking at that experience, what are a couple of things that you feel have truly poured into you or molded you to get to this place where you had this, this kind of this light bulb moment at 30 plus, right? So now you're in your 30s and the light bulb has gone off and you realize that you have an opportunity to choose every time. Are there things that you see along the way that have led you to this point? Or are there just specific things that have really molded you into the human that you are today?
It's the painful moments, right? I know Tony Robbins talks about that. Like that's the real motivator to get us to change and shift who we are. I mean, we can kind of suffer or kind of tolerate things when things are okay around us, right? It's when we're hit rock bottom, so to speak, when the pain is so much that it moves you to action. There's a motivator, is pain. And so there's been moments in my life, I think we all suffer. It's not something that's, we all do. We are going to have those moments, and there are going to be other moments down the road. And it's in my moments of loss and suffering, when I'm in the midst of it, it's horrible. We all know that. And so it's like, okay, how do I make it less so if I can? And then again, how do I learn from this? How can I come from this better than where I started? How can I allow this thing to enter my life and not have it cause me to go off the rails in my life? Because sometimes people do, they kind of go they go into the wilderness, so to speak. And some of people don't come out of the wilderness; they get stuck there. And because I still have things I want to do. Again, I have responsibilities, and so it's those painful moments that I've examined it. It's like, okay, how do I make those less painful? Because it's hard to be productive, I think, when you're suffering. It's Don't you think? And so I've used it to say, okay, so still got things to do, and it clouds us how we think. We don't think the same.
Right.
Like our thinking is off. And then that can cause us to do things we may not intentionally want to do that could hurt other people when we're suffering. We act out, lash out, hurt friends, hurt loved ones when we don't mean to, do stupid things that could get us in trouble, drink too much, lead people to drugs, or there are other things that you really don't intend to, but you're just trying to put a Band-Aid on that. Yeah. And so that's what's led me to, it's like anytime I've encountered something that's painful, I like lean into how do I make that suffering less? And then how do I convert it to something that's beneficial?
That's huge. That's huge.
When you talk about how can I make things less? Have you come up with any tools that make it less? Like make in those moments?
Meditation for me has been, I swear by meditation. I swear by just finding time daily. And it's daily. It's like exercise. It's like breathing for me. Mm-hmm. That I exercise my mind. I exercise my spirit that way as well. I just disconnect from this world and just am with myself. Mm-hmm. And connecting. People call it God, whatever. I don't want to go down that road because that's not even really important, I don't think. Yeah. It's about just getting out from all the noise and then quieting the mind, because that's what meditation teaches, is how to quiet the mind and just be present in that space. It's a very precious space, the space of now. It's very precious because you close your eyes. Everyone says, I can't meditate. It's hard. It is hard, but with practice, like anything, like exercise, you just get better. So if you do it daily, you get better and you better and you get better, and then you can quiet your mind. And it's in that quiet mind, I think, like inspiration comes, the answers to things can come to you that you've been searching for. And those are the things. If I could give anybody advice that's actionable, it's meditate. Yeah, meditate. And even that could just be, it can be guided meditations. There's lots of people out there that you can find stuff on YouTube and whatnot. But even just like go find a quiet, dark place, sit, but you'd be lay down, you probably fall asleep, and just close your eyes. Yeah. And just try to focus on breath. The concept of focus on breath is that way, then your thoughts you're going to be bombarded by thoughts. It's like,
your brain wants to focus on something, and if it's not breath, it's going to be your to-do list, or what you could have said or done differently, or what you need to wear the next day, whatever, what you're going to eat for
stories.
Dinner. Yes, all the stories.
Yes, always. And so this takes practice. Yes. And I would say commit to yourself that. Commit to yourself. By the way, if you can't commit to yourself, you can't commit to anybody else.
That's true.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
Like if you don't love yourself and you can't commit to yourself, it's going to be very hard for you to honestly do that for anybody else. And so it's commit. I always just say commit to yourself, like give yourself 30 days. I think anyone can do anything for 30 days and just meditate. And I will put money on it that it can change your life. It really can.
Yeah. When you first started meditating, did you find it hard to kind of quiet your mind? Were there tricks that you found that, okay, if I could do this, it worked really well? Like you said, go to a dark room, sit. Any other tools or tricks to kind of quiet that brain?
It's to focus on something. And again, that's what people say, to focus on breath. That's why a lot of people that teach meditation say that. And just constantly understand you have to capture your thoughts and get rid of them and go back to breath. And it's this cat and mouse game you're going to be playing for a while. And just know that that's what it is. And most people are like, I didn't accomplish anything from that. Or actually you did, because you were constantly going back to breath, and thinking about breath. Like, stop that, go back to breath. And just it's about the committal. It's about the discipline of sitting down and doing it on a consistent basis. That's when it's like the first time you go to the gym, you're not going to see any results. Right. You're not going to go there if you're trying to bodybuild. It's not that first day. It's like day 30, maybe it's day 45 or 60. Look at any professional athletes out there. They're not great, initially. It's that training and time and consistency. It's that compounding labor that gives them that ability that they had, like they hone that ability, they even better that they are. And so again, it's not going to happen on the first day or second day or third day. It might happen after 30 days. You really start, it may actually a couple of weeks, you might start seeing some benefits from it. Then you keep leaning into it more. Maybe you start listening to someone who can guide you, that can help, because there's different kinds of meditations you can do. But you'll start to be able to modulate your emotional state as well, because you can control your thoughts and you can put yourself back into whatever state you want to be in, because you're controlling how you think, and then that brain heart coherence, and you can control your emotional state so you don't overreact to something.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that's great. And
Yeah.
it's I've mentored folks that have had a hard time embracing the practice of meditation. And my advice to them has been, give it time, and starting with something that's guided, right? Then you're not focusing on your thoughts, but instead you're focusing on the words for the guidance that you're receiving. And then you can scale that back, and maybe you just have, a soft sound that's in the background. And then you can find your place and find that, settle into the stillness and the quiet, and truly just being with your thoughts, or lack thereof, like dismissing the intrusive ones, and being still and in that moment, like the power of now that you talk about. But Jeff, I think the most powerful thing that you said, that we can just remind our listeners, like, if you can't commit to yourself, like, what can you expect yourself to, like, you can't commit to others, right? If you can't make that hard commitment to yourself, you can't really commit to the other people around you or in your life.
I think that's universal. That's universal truth. There are certain things that are universal truths.
Yes.
That's a truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you like it's like you're lying to you. If you make a promise to yourself to do something and you break that, the reason I think people have such guilt about things, or they might feel shame on themselves, is because they've done that enough. They don't like themselves. Like, I'm a liar. Like, I lie to myself. I'm not willing to do this. I can't commit to it. And I somewhere in there they've abused themselves enough. Yeah, it's like the love thing too. It's like it's impossible to love another thing or another person if you do not love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Powerful.
Absolutely. I love that.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Pam. I know, I think you're going in the exact same direction that I'm going.
Maybe. I just wanted to kind of share with us your journey into starting to write and what that looked like. What was the inspiration? And 40 books.
Yes.
Like, and going from
I'm prolific.
all the things you did, Marines and diving, bodyguarding, and now best-selling author.
Yeah, I'm prolific, that's for sure. I've always been a big reader, and I always was growing up. Just loved to read, consume books. And it was the time after. So the journey of novel writing actually started. The very first book I ever did was a children's illustrated book.
Okay.
And that I wrote under Jeffrey Hopf. That's why I have the G. Michael. So if anyone's ever like, why you're Jeff? Like, well, I wrote my very first book was a children's illustrated book about a dog called Doggyville. And it was based on a story I would tell my girls at night. So I was like, part of my job was like, as the parent, is I'd love to go and I'd love to read the girls' books. I just loved it. And I'd go and I'd read to them. And then there wasn't enough books. And then I'd tell stories. So this was a story I'd made up, and I was just telling them about this dog named Kiki and his travels. And then one night I asked my wife, I was like, what do you think if I turn that into like a children's book? It can't be that hard. I mean, ideas always seem easier than, practically putting them in executing stuff. And so she's like, sure, have at it. And then, the manuscript one wasn't very long, 800 words, not very long. But then just the illustrations, and I found somebody. So that's what started that whole thing. But what that connects to the novels, because that started as an idea. And then again, through, consistent discipline, that ended up manifesting in my life. Here's a book, idea, something real, and I was like, okay, I did that. That's really cool. And how about if I did a novel? And then I set about to writing it. I made it. I was inspired by Stephanie Meyer. She's the author of the Twilight series.
Oh, okay.
So the genre wasn't, and what's funny is I never read those books. I've seen the movies, but I loved her journey, her origin story of how she wrote the novels and created the characters. Started as a lucid dream and super busy mom her whole life, lots of things going on, that she set about to doing it at night. And she was, again, very disciplined and followed just very discipline and consistency. And every night she sat down to do it. And I was like, Stephanie can do this. I can do this too. I like to look at people that have had success and I want to model them. I'm like, they can do that. I can do that too. I'm just going to model what they did. And so that's what I sat down at night, because that's my wife is like just don't quit your day job, like you have any dreams of becoming a best-selling author or whatever. I'm like, no, I'll just do it at night, I promise. But I dedicated myself to making it like a part-time job. Like I was going to, every night when the girls are in bed, everyone's chilling, I'm going to go downstairs, I'm going to write. I'm going to write so many words a night. So I did that, and then I got the first novel done, and that's kind of was the genesis of that. I wanted to have been a big reader, and then I had found myself in a position that the reason I wrote the novel, to answer the question, was I wasn't finding a certain book in the genre I was reading. I was reading apocalyptic fiction. There was something missing. And I was like, well, if I can't find it, maybe I'll write it.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the lesson I now teach writers, that the first person you write for is yourself.
Mm-hmm. Write
the story that you want to read. It's very important to do that.
Yeah.
Don't try to write for other people, because then you lose an authentic voice in that.
Right.
Is write the book you want to read, and that's what gave birth to The End. And it was a really cool journey with that. Had an agent, fired the agent, self-published it, did really well, quit my job. I mean, it's all this stuff happened in a very, very quick amount of time. They got a huge deal with Penguin and never looked back.
Wow.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.